وحزب الله والنظام ثلاث وجوه لعملة واحدة.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on FutureTV. I'm Linda Samim and these are today's top stories. Lebanon praises the Lebanese army for yet another victory against terrorism, the day after the arrest of Abdullah Azzam Brigade's commander Naim Abbas. President Michel Sleiman stresses the importance of the ongoing security efforts to unveil terrorist networks on Lebanese territories. And U.S. Undersecretary of State Wendy Sherman arrives in Geneva in a bid to kickstart stalled Syria peace talks. Lebanese officials and the media hail the Lebanese Army and the Intelligence Directorate on its security accomplishment a day after the arrest of Naim Abbas, a commander of the Abdullah Azzam Brigades. Abbas was the Lebanese Army Intelligence's most wanted man after it learned of his role in several terrorist attacks. He was a resident of the Palestinian refugee camp of Ain al-Helwe, but left several days before his arrest. Abbas admitted to the existence of an explosives-rigged Toyota RAV4 parked in Beirut's Corniche al-Mazraa and revealed the existence of other rigged cars now being investigated by security forces. Reports say he also confirmed that he was connected to a number of recent bombings. President Michel Sleiman has stressed the importance of the ongoing security efforts to unveil terrorist networks on Lebanese territories. He praises the endeavors exerted by the Army intelligence after the arrest of Naim Abbas and after they seized two booby-trapped cars in Beirut and the Bekaa. He has expressed hope that the rival politicians will realize the delicacy of the stage that Lebanon is passing through and that they will cooperate to form a new cabinet. Sleiman's statements were issued during a security judicial meeting at Babda Palace today. The President and attendants have agreed on the importance of the cooperation between the various security agencies and its readiness to bust offenders to safeguard Lebanon. The meeting was attended by Prime Minister Najib Mikati, Interior Minister Marwan Sherbil, Justice Minister Shakib Kourtbawi, Army Commander General Jean Ahwaji, and several security and military officials. Prime Minister Najib Mikati has expressed optimism that a new government may soon be formed. During talks with Beirut Maronite Bishop Boulos Matar, Mikati expressed hope that the Bukirki National Charter will be translated into actions on the ground. Efforts to form a new government have reached a deadlock, mainly over Free Patriotic Movement leader MP Michel Aoun's refusal to relinquish the Energy Ministry portfolio. He tells reporters that he is refusing to give the portfolio to any of his allies in the Amal movement, Hezbollah, Tashnak and Marada parties, to facilitate the government formation process. Reporters say, however, that a major breakthrough was made on Wednesday night when talks between the FPM and ex-premier Saad Hariri's Future movement led to a deal to give Aoun a sovereign portfolio in addition to another ministry that has a balancing role in return for granting the energy portfolio to a non-provocative consensual person. The General Directorate of State Security has seized a mobile factory used in manufacturing counterfeit medicine in the Bekaa town of Barlias. The National News Agency reports that the Directorate has carried out raids at 5 warehouses in which suspects are producing illegal and fake medicine sold on Lebanese territories. The Health Ministry later announced that the competent authorities raided an apartment and a warehouse that contained illegal medicine for Palestinian nationals Nader Mohammed Zaidan and Majd al-Anjar. The statement pointed out that the testimony of Zaidan led security forces to 2 other depots in the region where illegal medicine is manufactured. The Health Ministry says the fake medicine include various kinds of drugs, hormones and steroids. On Wednesday, the General Directorate of State Security also raided a warehouse in the eastern Bekaa town of Majd al-Anjar and seized a large quantity of fake medicine. U.S. Undersecretary of State Wendy Sherman has flown into Geneva in a bid to kickstart stalled Syria peace talks. Sherman was due to meet international mediator Lakhdar Brahimi and Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Gennady Gatilov later today, as the two sides of Syria's civil war failed to make any substantial progress during a second round of negotiations at the United Nations. An opposition paper presented on Wednesday calling for a transitional governing body did not engage the government delegation, who countered that negotiations must focus first on combating terrorism, is term for all anti-Assad fighters. Concern about talks running into the sand prompted Brahimi to bring forward the trilateral meeting between Russian and U.S. officials in an effort to get Washington, which backs the rebels, and President Bashar al-Assad's ally, Russia, to press their protégés. And coming up next, proposed legislation giving terminally ill children the right to die sparks intense debate in Belgian Parliament. That and more after the break. Welcome back. Russia's President Vladimir Putin says he will support a presidential bid from the Egyptian Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, wishing him luck after holding talks in Moscow. Putin said at the start of a meeting in Moscow with Sisi that he was aware of his decision to run. However, there has been no announcement on the matter from the Egyptian side. Sisi and Nabil Fahmy, Egypt's foreign minister, also held separate talks with Sergei Shoigu and Sergei Lavrov, the Russian defense and foreign ministers. Shoigu also said Moscow supports Cairo's efforts to fight against terrorism. Sisi led the overthrow of President Mohamed Morsi last July, and the new constitution calls for an election by mid-April. Reporters on the ground believe Field Marshal Sisi is likely to win, given his popularity and the lack of any serious rivals. 7 people have been killed when a car bomb exploded near the entrance of Mogadishu's heavily guarded international airport, where many foreign diplomats are based. Police say armed group Al-Shabaab detonated the bomb, which was targeting a United Nations convoy. The group's military operations spokesman has claimed responsibility for the attack, claiming they have killed 3 UN staff and injured 1. The spokesman also admitted the group had fired mortars at the presidential palace on Wednesday. Although Al-Shabaab were pushed out of Mogadishu in 2011 by African Union peacekeeping troops, they have carried out several bombings in Mogadishu targeting government officials and foreign nationals. At least 12 policemen have been killed and dozens more were injured when a powerful car bomb struck a police bus in Pakistan's commercial hub of Karachi. The blast went off early this morning as more than 50 officers were boarding the bus near the national highway in Karachi. Reports say about 3 dozen more policemen had been hospitalized, 10 of whom were in critical condition. Police say the attack appeared to be a suicide attack, although there was no immediate claim of responsibility. Pakistan's business hub, the port city of Karachi, has been plagued for years by sectarian, ethnic and political violence. The assault is latest in a series of attacks that comes at a time when the Pakistani government is trying to strike a peace deal with the local Taliban. And now for news around the world in brief. A Belgian bill granting terminally ill children the right to die, a legal option already possessed by adults in the country, is widely expected to pass into law. Belgian lawmakers have clashed sharply over the bill, which comes to a vote in the House of Representatives today. Proponents view it as a question of mercy, while critics say the bill has been rushed and lacks a medical rationale. Afghanistan has initiated the release of 65 dangerous detainees from Bagram prison north of Kabul. Local news services report that all of the prisoners will be released today and transported by bus to Kabul. U.S. forces in Afghanistan have condemned the Afghan government's decision to move forward with a detainee release, calling the prisoners a security threat. At least 4 people have been killed, including a police officer, after thousands of Venezuelans opposing President Nicolas Maduro took to the streets of Caracas. Following 2 weeks of anti-government protests across the country, reports say gunfire erupted in the center of the capital when armed members of a pro-government vigilant group arrived in motorcycles and began firing at more than 100 anti-Maduro student protesters, clashing with security forces. Global leaders are gathering in London for the opening of an international conference aimed at combating the illegal trade in wildlife. Prior to that, Britain's Prince William hosted a reception to preview what is at stake for many of the world's endangered animals. The animals have been trapped and killed mainly for profit. Illegal trade in wildlife is estimated to be worth between $10 billion and $20 billion US every year. Even with new laws and regulations, animals continue to die at an alarming pace. The global community has begun to fight back, spearheaded by Britain's royal family. The international conference will provide a forum to review and discuss the most recent evidence on animals most affected by wildlife trafficking, namely rhinos and elephants, and will focus on solutions to stop these crimes. China has emerged as the largest market for legal and illegal ivory. Action star Jackie Chan also attended the evening reception. He served as an ambassador for the activist group Wild Aid and says despite greater attention and awareness raised in China, there's still a lot to be done.
Actually, China government for the last 10 years, they do a lot of things. But sometime you have to let it slowly, everything slow. It's not like, okay, when you're smoking, you stop smoking tomorrow, boom. No. We have 1.4 billion people, more than probably 500 million people smoking. You have to step by step. For the last 15 years, I can tell, really, China government to change a lot. Even the Chinese people change a lot.
It would be an utter tragedy if in our lifetimes the tigers, the elephants, the rhinos, the orangutans were lost altogether because of human ignorance and greed. With our power as human beings comes the responsibility to respect other life and to conserve our environment. We can all imagine how history would judge us and what future generations would say or feel about us if we did not act now to protect some of the greatest creatures that share this planet with us.
The illegal wildlife trade is now the fourth most lucrative transnational crime after drugs, arms and human trafficking. It is estimated to be worth between $10 and $20 billion each year. Some might imagine it is a crime without human victim, but over 1,000 rangers have been killed in the past 10 years. Every week, another 2 rangers are murdered by poachers. There is also evidence that poachers' activities are funding international terrorism. The scale of the trade continues to increase dramatically and is becoming ever more sophisticated. Poachers now operate in highly organized international criminal gangs. Technology is also being exploited for the sale of these goods, with illegal products openly and easily available online. But we need to believe in our ability to turn the tide. We need to tackle wildlife crime with a concerted global response as vigorous and forceful as the trade itself.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a recap of our top stories. Lebanon praises the Lebanese army for yet another victory against terrorism, a day after the arrest of Abdullah Azzam Brigade's commander, Naim Abbas. President Michel Sleiman stresses the importance of the ongoing security efforts to unveil terrorist networks on Lebanese territories. And finally, U.S. Undersecretary of State Wendy Sherman arrives in Geneva in a bid to kickstart stalled Syria peace talks. Those were today's headlines from us here at Future Television. Catch Shimna Naufal again tomorrow for more updates, and have a great evening.